I'll be the first to admit that those of us in the English-speaking world can be in the dark when it comes to literature and interviews in other languages. This affects all manner of topics, of course, but this video will focus on the international spread of the no virus issue. And while English material is often translated into other languages, for example, Virus Mania is now available in 7 languages, with more in development. Translations are often less available in the other direction. I'm also going to give a shout out to perhaps one of the lesser known teams that has been hammering their country's government for years over the lack of evidence for SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19. Let's find out who they are and how they have exposed their public office holders on every aspect of the alleged science of virology and pandemics. For my husband Mark and I, our first introduction to the no virus position was in early 2020. The COVID-19 production alerted us that something was badly wrong with virology. Our instincts led us to go beyond our medical textbooks and establishment microbiology training, and we were soon immersed in the second English edition of Virus Mania. The book shocked us. Virology wasn't just a bit dodgy, it was fraudulent. Pathogenic viruses were invented boogeymen that have never been shown to exist in scientific experiments, let alone cause disease. Virus Mania led us to the work of the Perth Group and their detailed scholarship in essays such as HIV, a virus like no other, showed us that the no virus arguments had not only been put forward decades earlier, but were very advanced. To us, the question became, why have we never seen this before? And the inspiration to start our own work into the virus existence issue, as well as going wider into the flawed germ theory and allopathic medical models. In 2020, my online platforms grew quickly, as did those of Tom Cowan and Andy Kaufman. Across the ditch, as we say in New Zealand, Tom Barnett also called out the fraud in 2020 in Australia. Seasoned campaigners such as Kevin Corbett, David Crowe, Jim West and Amanda Vollmer found a resurgence in interest in their work questioning viruses. Meanwhile, Mike Stone's pent-up issues with germ theory and so-called viruses came flooding out in the Virology website. Christine Massey paused her fluoride work and began publishing the FOIA requests, revealing that no institution in the world had isolated SARS-CoV-2 or any other, quote, virus for that matter. Steve Falconer of Spacebusters pivoted his channel in 2020, and his videos calling out the COVID fraud and contagion myth gained millions of views. Documentary maker Mike Wallach had known for years that much of allopathic medicine was fraudulent and produced the massive Viral Delusion series in the middle of the scamdemic. Mark decided to write a fully referenced formal refutation of the entire virus model and published the 29,000-word essay, A Farewell to Virology. These examples show we are spoilt for choice in the English-speaking world, but there are of course other prominent members around the world. In Germany, we have the incomparable Dr. Stefan Lanker, the trained virologist who worked out in the 1990s that there were no pathogenic viruses. Also in Germany are my original inspirations, Torsten Engelbrecht and Dr. Klaus Kuhnlein, the first person to be interviewed on the Dr. Sam Bailey channel. I was honoured when they asked me to become part of the Virus Mania team in 2020. Then in Italy, we have the 4th Virus Mania co-author, the one and only Stefano Scolio. In the Spanish-speaking world, La Quinta Columna have been at the forefront of investigating the contents of the COVID-19 vaccines, and as far as I know, also take the no-virus position. When the Settling the Virus debate statement was launched in July 2022, we had an international alliance of doctors and scientists. For most of our audience, 3 of the lesser-known names were likely to be Mufasil Dingaka, Jitendra Banjara and Sachin Pithka. These are our friends from India, and they have been doing an incredible amount of work with their team to show to India and the world that the emperor has no virus when it comes to COVID-19 or any other alleged viral disease. They have collected hundreds of pages of documents with responses from so-called health institutions and politicians in India. They have documented the uncontrolled and unscientific experiments related to alleged virus isolation, electron microscopy, and genome sequencing, starting with Van Woo's infamous 2020 paper. They have pointed out that the PCR was not clinically validated. They have even pointed out the financial fraud with the government of India taking out a loan of $1 billion on the 2nd of April 2020 in the name of the pandemic, placing a further burden on Indian citizens. Not only this, but the public purse has been used to fund the necessary medical drugs and vaccines and run marketing campaigns of fear. They have pointed out that cases of COVID-19 are defined by preposterous circular reasoning due to its non-specific symptoms and flawed testing kits. Of major concern to the team has been the suppression of natural therapies for illnesses. I love the way they reject the allopathic medical system and state. A serious issue is if any disease symptom cannot be cured by allopathy, or the alternative medical system, it is declared an incurable disease symptom, or epidemic or pandemic, by ignoring the other mainstream medicinal symptoms such as Ayurveda, yoga, naturopathy, homeopathy, Unani, Siddha, etc. at the outset. I think we should all take up this approach and describe Rockefeller imposter medicine as alternative rather than true medicine. Much of the overall strategy from our Indian colleagues has been to focus on the legal aspects of COVID-19 in their country. For example, under the Indian Evidence Act 1872, the burden of proof is on the government to establish the existence of the alleged SARS-CoV-2 virus in human samples and its pathogenicity with that sample. It has become clear that, like virologists around the world, the Indian medical authorities cannot deliver the evidence with any papers that follow the scientific method. The conclusion from our Indian colleagues in their politely worded statement: this is nothing but a serious medical experiment which is likely a crime against humanity, and this act clearly shows that health authorities may have no intention of public health and welfare of citizens of India. And while the highest level institution, the Indian Council of Medical Research, claimed they have proof of existence of SARS-CoV-2, they have yet to provide any document to back this up. Hence, a demand letter is now being sent to them, as well as the National Institute of Virology and various politicians. It calls on them to provide a public demonstration showing the existence of a virus. They've even opened it up further and have suggested that the demonstration could involve providing the evidence for any alleged disease-causing microbe. So here is how their demand letter reads. Subject: demand to prove the existence of the alleged SARS-CoV-2 virus or disease-causing virus. In other words, to prove that the alleged SARS-CoV-2 and the alleged variants or disease-causing viruses are real physical entities that are supported with real-time research via public demonstration and peer-reviewed scientific papers. Additionally, to prove that there was a real scientific basis behind this COVID-19 pandemic. Dear public servant, at the outset, we are very disheartened and unsatisfied with your response. We are referring herewith to your response, which lacks sincerity and shows great negligence, disrespect towards the public. Moreover, it also lacks rationality and scientificity. Your unsatisfactory response. If you diligently read our open legal notice, you would have noticed that we asked you for valid scientific experimental research, papers, records, documents to prove the existence of alleged SARS-CoV-2 or disease-causing viruses. However, the scientific research papers that you provided against the RTIs and our correspondences failed to prove the existence of any disease-causing virus, including the alleged SARS-CoV-2 virus or its variants, that we showed in our open legal notice, based on scientific principles, methods, and rationality. Furthermore, without providing any valid scientific papers, records, documents to prove your claim, i.e. existence of any disease-causing virus and or the alleged SARS-CoV-2 virus, you have given a poor logical reply. This, to our surprise, was a kind of response never expected from an esteemed scientific institution such as yours. Therefore, we are now obligated to mandate scientific, rational, and clear-cut answers to our questions. Therefore, unless you can provide us with a valid scientific proof and/or research papers to prove the existence of the alleged SARS-CoV-2 or its alleged variants, we demand an explicit statement mentioning that you do not have any such evidence, as you clearly mentioned that you do not have any scientific evidence for disease-causing germs, i.e. disease-causing bacteria, fungi, protozoa, parasites, or any kind of disease-causing microorganism against the RTI attached. 1. Your reply failed the scientific temperament. As per our present observation, experience, and doubt, the absence of valid scientific evidence and the lack of submission of proper science principles, methods, and the research work of virology show that, through imagination, theory, and fear-generating tools like the PPE kit, as well as masks and heavy sophisticated machineries, tools, etc., an atmosphere has been created by the virologists, fabricating an imaginary entity to be a real one for others. Virologists are the victim of a misconception, i.e. existence of disease-causing virus, which has been conceived by them and is further spread, propagated by the medical doctors, professionals across the society and public. As a result, people are now suffering from the fear of an imaginary entity. This misconception has been made the basis of almost all the alleged epidemic and pandemics since hundreds of years. The truth revealed through proper scientific investigation has never been done yet. Also, after interacting with various scientists, experts from over the world, their statements further clarified that existence of disease-causing virus is a misconception. For instance, when cells die, they are broken down into submicroscopic particles, some of which virologists arbitrarily label viruses, and anyone who closely analyzes what virologists actually do in the laboratory to prove that these particles they call viruses cause disease will easily see the absurdity of their conclusions. Dr. Stefan Lenker, virologist. COVID-19, the virus does not exist. It is confirmed. Dr. Saeed A. Qureshi, PhD. Secondly, regarding the PCR-RT-PCR, we already showed in our open legal notice why and how the test is totally irrelevant for the purpose, and it's a misuse of this test that is being used for the alleged COVID-19 pandemic purpose. However, you could not clarify our inquiry in your response. Additionally, we also present herewith excerpts of the laboratory experiment conducted by Dr. Biswarup Roy Chaudhry and his team to validate the government-approved RT-PCR test for COVID-19. Excerpts. Recently, from June 15th to the 17th, 2022, I and my medical team conducted an experiment wherein we took some fruits, some vegetables, and some animals like rabbit and dog and a few birds like chicken and pigeon. We collected samples of each of them and went to a government-authorised COVID test laboratory to run them through the test to understand which of the samples are COVID positive and which of them are COVID negative. Dr. Biswarup Roy Chaudhry demonstrated and explained the invalid and irrelevant usage of RT-PCR test kit to detect the unclear nucleic acid and proved that the RT-PCR testing is non-specific for the purpose of diagnosis. Now it is your responsibility to prove your claim via practical demonstration. You have claimed in your response that you can prove practically the existence of the alleged SARS-CoV-2 virus or disease-causing viruses. Therefore, we are eager to participate and witness your practical demonstration, as it is the only way to prove your claim. If you claim the existence of the disease-causing germ microbes, we demand to prove your claim via practical demonstration by providing us with the below: date, time, and schedule of your practical experimental demonstration. Name and location of the laboratory, including wet and dry lab. Names of the virologist scientist committee who will perform and participate in the demonstration. Please mention all details of the procedures, steps that you will perform and demonstrate during the practical demonstration. So, there you have it. Rest assured that the no virus arguments are being advanced in many countries around the world, including by our friends in India. Keep the conversation going in the comments, and if you know of other individuals or teams around the world that are doing this work, then let us know. One of the best things to come out of the pandemic was linking up with people around the world to make new alliances and often friendships. Let's see if waking more of the world up to the virus fraud might bring even more of us together. If you enjoyed this video, please visit support.sam.com